The Fallen Dragon Tutorial Part 1. Hi family, today we introduce the basis to show how to paint a fallen dragon. It's the head of a fallen dragon. This miniature is our own creation from Asgatari's Green Miniatures, and you can find and buy it from our online shop in asgataris.com. Well, let's start. We begin using as the first layer the black color as a base, because we want that the shadows appears well defined. Well, after the base layer, we are going to apply the counter blue. That is the color that the dragon will have. So at first what I did is trying to color in random all the face of the dragon, trying to saving the horns. As we are painting with the airbrush, what we can do is also just use it as a dryer, so paint the area and dry some parts, and on the prominent parts just paint a thin line in a way to give to the miniature some volume. Remember also that more layer we paint, more clear will be the color at the end, more pure will appear the color. Okay, now we are going to use a Teclis Blue color and we are going to use the brush. So what we are going to do is try to make little dots over an extended area, try to obtain a scaly skin effect, like the dragon skin effect. As is the first layer we are painting by dots, we need to first of all respect the concave areas of the dragon and try to make the dots in an extended area, so at the next step will be the smallest area, trying to give it lights. And we need to dilute a lot the colors, step by step. Instead, for the urns, what we use is drawing little lines instead of points, and try to fade the colors layer by layer, as we did for the rest of the face of the dragon. And well, I decided to use little lines for the urns and little dots for the face, just to give it different effects and not so repetitive. And this is more or less the result we have. Well, the next layer will be with Macrake Blue, and we are gonna use more or less the same process, the horns with little lines and the face with little dots. But this time we are gonna paint a less extended area. This time we really dilute the color in a way to create a glaze and gradually fade the dots. As you can see, this miniature is easy to paint and you can try different techniques of painting. Personally, what I liked most was painting the scales on the back of the neck, because you can play with the lines, with the dots, with the little lights, and see the different effects you can obtain. For the next layer, we are gonna use ice blue and Teclis blue in equal parts. I've decided to use these two paintings in equal parts because I didn't want to have much contrast between them, but you will see that at the end I will use pure ice blue for the last lights. And with the mix we just made, we go back to the same, painting with small dots, a small area of the skin, and once they're dry, we blur them. And we do the same for the horns. Remember the brush with a little paint to not have any drop. Well, the last lights will be with ice blue. And now we just follow with the lights with little lines on the most prominent parts. Mephiston red and ink purple, because we are gonna paint the shadows. Well, normally people don't paint the shadows, but I personally prefer to paint them because what you can obtain is a really defined volume. If you have a look at a wheel color, you can see that we just choose a complementary color. So what we are doing is painting the shadows with the same technique of before. We paint big area of shadows like the area of the nose, the teeth, where the scales are finishing and they're starting the horns. So what we get is a miniature with more volume and depth. And use also the base color I use for the skin. Now we are going to use the black, the pure black. But what happened is that I always think that using the white, the pure white for the lights and the pure black for the shadows doesn't look like natural. So what I do is trying to dilute a lot the color. And now after diluting a lot the color, what we do is painting over the red shadows a smallest area with the black shadows. We check that the texture of the paint is the one we want, and we go painting the shaded area with the little lines. This time we're going to use the pure white for the last lights, but just little points, little light points on the most prominent parts, and that's it. I know that most of you are thinking that before I said that I don't like to use pure white, but this time for the next layer I'm gonna use light blue with the airbrush, so the final effect will not be pure white. As I told you before, we are gonna apply the light blue with the airbrush. Now we have to be very careful because we are gonna put distilled water in the airbrush and 20% of glass cleaner. The texture should be more or less like milk. We do that to make the transition between the points and the lines more soft and clean. Now we should be very careful with the airbrush. I advise you to use a 2mm needle because we are gonna paint a little area over the lights part. If I do small mistakes, what I do is take in the brush and just with water clean the area, but I need to be really fast, if not the paint will dry. To paint the skin of the dragon and the first part of our video tutorial. But I just want to add the last things for the next video tutorial, and is how to cover the face of the dragon to paint the horns. We just use a sculpture tool and blue tack. We apply the blue tack just in the area where we don't want to paint with the airbrush, and I leave it with all the proceed. Well, if you like the video, just subscribe on our YouTube channel, so you can receive updates about our next project in the Camino de Santiago. And I leave you with this fantastic band, Psychotropic Swamp, and enjoy the music.